they might be probably that too, so.
Is that okay for you?
Yep. Got it?
Yep. Hi, honey. Hi, honey.
So that square, that corner's not on there square then.
It's not?
Well, wait.
Start up again. Go ahead.
Wants to be on the corner. Let's hope we'll put this together smoothly. That's what you go.
About that. About this. How can we get extra?
I'll show you.
I see it. I got this side?
You all set?
Yeah.
Well, we got the first row of blocks in, mostly. Got a couple on the end here to finish up. Been pretty smooth. Had a little bit of a learning curve with these vertical clips. I was putting them down here in this groove, and I couldn't figure out why the corners weren't lining up very well. Well, it's because we were doing it wrong. So figured that out. We drilled our dowels in. It was a lot easier than wet setting because now we know that we're where we need to be. And so now it's on to row 2. We're gonna set rebar and get this area here taken care of. I have a man door and an overhead door here that I have to frame in. Once we get the second row on, we'll put in form lock, and then we will level, straighten, and glue the bottom 2 courses. And then hopefully after that, it should be pretty quick.
And Shaheen and Gordon Attorneys Law. This Sunday from 11 to 4. More at PetRockInThePark.com. Live from the Rewind 100.9 studio. This is your home for Portland's greatest. Powered by Pat's Pizza of Brunswick. Check out their menu and hours at Pat'sPizzaBrunswick.com.
Rewind 100.9 with your Weather Authority forecast from
Right there is 178. Where's 178 go?
Well, we started at a corner.
The rebar is so simple. We drilled the footing and pegged those in with a 4-pound hammer, and then we just alternate every course all the way up the wall, and when we're done we'll be able to snake a vertical rebar down between the alternating courses of horizontal rebar. The corner pieces go in pretty slick. I just offset it one slot over, and then as you can see, the row below is opposite. So then again, be able to snake down a vertical rebar in between those. It acts like a cage to hold it, keeps it off the foam. I purchased the form lock. I probably did not need to do that because I'm going to be using Zonts bracing, which has horizontal whalers anyway. But at the time, I didn't know what kind of bracing I was going to be using. So it's just some extra stiffness, keeping the wall straight. I had a local sales rep for a different product swing by. He got me some foam. I couldn't find an adhesive expanding foam anywhere in any of the local supply houses. This guy had it in stock, brought it right to me. Price was great. So he'll be swinging by a few more times, I'm sure. The first 2 courses went pretty well. We had a couple low spots. We had a low spot over here. I put some shims in. A couple high spots I shaved out. You see the foam is a little thinner here. The glue's a little thinner. The whole thing's within about 3/8 of an inch tolerance the whole way. So on a 60-something foot long house, 3/8 of an inch is good enough for me. We put our common splices as close to the center of the wall as possible. Left a little bit of space in case we have to adjust, about a 1/4 inch gap. We can fill that with foam before we pour. Now there's no bracing on this wall. And just with that form lock, look how straight it is. Yeah, there's a couple waves in it, but nothing major. Be able to pull it out with the braces easily. So now that the first 2 courses are done, we have our patterns set up for the remainder of the wall. The first course went pretty quickly. The second course took a little bit more time, a little bit more cuts. But after 2 courses, this is all I have for waste. That's it. Maybe 6 feet of wall total. So when I'm all done, I'm probably only going to have, well, 2.5 times as much as that. So really hardly anything for waste, which is great. So I did something that they don't really recommend on the corners. On the bottom course, I put the short leg facing the center of the house, and I did the same thing on an opposing corner. And the reason for that is the top wall is, the top course of block is going to mimic the bottom course of block exactly. I want my top block to be this way, like this one down here, because I'm doing taper top blocks. And the taper top is going to hold my sill plate in place, which you'll see when I do that part of the build. Which means if this is my vertical line here at the top of the wall, I'll have taper top blocks to this point, and then I'll have to modify the corner block only this far to support the ledge, as opposed to modifying a complete corner block to support my ledge. Once this glue is set, man, these things are stuck. They're not moving. Got a little bit of a weird detail going on right here. I have an existing concrete wall that's 2.5, 3 inches wide. And then this protrudes beyond it about 5 inches. I'll have to build some sort of bracing and bracketry here to support this. as well as on the outside. I'll end up just screwing into the concrete here and screwing into these webs and make this nice and stiff straight with this wall here. They did a pretty good job in the shipping. I was short one package of the taper tops. I got a hold of my sales company and they got a hold of Nudura and they immediately credited me. It's okay in this instance because I have this garage door over here that I did not account for when I ordered my block. So I'm gonna have about 4 extra block left over that would have gone in that hole, and these packages come in 3. So it looks like it's gonna actually work out that I'll have potentially 1 extra block, and hopefully that's it when I'm done with this project. We pre-bent all of our corner pieces with a 24-inch leg each way so that we would always get our laps. This is about 4 inches here. Got to have 20 inches of lap because we're using number 4 bar. So we pre-bent all of our legs, staged them around the house, cut all of our rebar to length, staged those. I ended up re-drilling my dowel holes here just because they didn't quite line up and it was a pain in the butt trying to get it to line up. So I put it in a place where it would be easy to work with, because all it really is doing is keeping these 2 walls in line with each other so they don't push out or in. So we staged all of our rebar cut to length, all of our corner pieces cut to length, so that we can just stack and stuff the rebar in and not really have to think about it from this point on. We've got our 2 courses in, so we've established the 2 patterns we need. The first course pattern, which will be the 1st, 3rd, and 5th course, and the second course pattern, which will be the 2nd and 4th course. So from this point on, it should go pretty quick, including getting the materials delivered. I had 3 of my aunts help, my mom, my uncle, and my dad. It took about 2 hours to unload the truck, bring it down here, drop everything down in the hole. We staged it out away from the wall so we could walk around. And after that, we drilled the dowels in, we cut the rebar, we got 2 courses in, we got 2 courses of rebar in. We leveled it and glued it in about 14 working hours. 2 guys, along with some other oddball stuff, like we filled that trench in. That took a couple hours just because it was a tight working area. And we cleaned up some of the rock, cleaned up some of the material inside the hole. So probably 14 hours of 2 guys who have never done it before. This is all a new learning experience for us. I'd say that's pretty good. I think that we'll have this wall whacked out and saving some serious labor costs. So stay tuned for more. We'll get you the next 3 courses. I also have another unique product by Nudura. My wall is actually 3 inches taller than a standard block wall. So I bought 3-inch height adjusters. So you'll get to see that going in and see how we make the wall adjusted for that height. So this is the rock bucket I picked up a couple years ago. I'm using it to screen my gravel because I don't have a screener. It's pretty abusive. It's not very fun, but it made for 3-inch minus gravel to backfill around our stem wall, which is a lot easier to handle, especially with a compactor like that over there, than dealing with those giant rocks in the gravel. We'd have to pick them all up by hand. I paid $1,000 for that bucket 3 years ago, and I'm really glad that I did. I don't know.
Where are you piling them?
Sure. Would it be easier to put them on the wall and then put all these in?
No.
No, that's
Probably not. Nothing's easy, right? Thought though, is it?
no. No.
Oh, I thought they saw you coming. Whose idea was this 3 extra inches on here?
Oh, 3 extra inches. It's 3 extra inches of headroom. 3 extra inches of mechanicals. I think the table should be higher. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. By 1 set of blocks?
Yeah. You got one set out, but it's in the middle of the pile there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Need a marker or a pencil or
Nope, I don't think so.
square or anything?
Yeah, he took it. Look at that. Oh, he's rugged. Look at this, watch.
Oh, you got something? Just to get wet.
That's okay.
You sitting on that?
No. What?
I feel like we should be putting them back in the cooler.
All together? Like that?
We stacked the first 2 rows in 3 hours, and then that top block probably took another 3 hours. Gotta set up some temporary braces until we get our bracing system, just so the wind doesn't take these walls down. They're pretty firm, clipped together, but just to be safe, spend another 20 minutes doing that.
You're a Zont.
Isn't that a game show?
It's not a Zont, it's a...
You're hooked. 6 feet, a conventional mortgage. Then it becomes commercial. That's enough for that camp.
I'll wheel it too.
Twist and shout. You thirsty?
So I guess, yeah, I gotta tie the top of them. Looks like we'll have to tie the top of them. Keep them from shifting. Yeah. Just briefly.
It's all right. What do you think? Okay.
That wall's good, Dad.
That one's gonna go out.
So look, this has to move an 1/8 of an inch. Away. Yep, keep going.
Oh, that moves easy. That's what.
I think you got it. Yeah.
Wow.
That's it. I doubt you can move this one. That's pretty more catch up. This one's on. Yeah, just give it a shot through that. Stop. I don't want to fuck it up. Well, I think that went pretty well for someone who's never done it before. The pump truck driver was right on time. The concrete was on time. The trucks were spaced apart nice. Everything went wonderful. Had lots of help. Lots of good friends showed up for the pour. So let's take a walk around this thing and see what we did. So we started off on this wall. First pour, I tried to get it about 2 blocks up, so about 3 feet. There's that ladder bar that we put in the wall there that was easy to see, so we went by that. Went all the way around. The first truck was empty in about 20 minutes, which they said was really fast for an ICF pour, which I think I agree with because I was very nervous of a blowout. Fortunately, we didn't have a single blowout in the whole wall. The second course around, the pump truck driver suggested that we go right to the top of the ledge, which is another, let's see, 1, 2, 3.5 blocks. So almost 5 feet. Now I was a little nervous about that, but we tried it. And we did this first section of wall here that way. But what ended up happening was the first course hadn't really gelled up a whole lot yet. And there was some pushing out away from the building here. You can see that's away from the building, that's away from the building. Well, the reason is I didn't really do a very good job securing the end of the wall to the building. And this last block, this web and this web had to be cut to get over here. So I think that's why that moved. That's the only thing that moved on us. We had leaned the walls in, especially the long ones. This one was leaned in probably 3/4 of an inch. This one was leaned in probably 3/4 of an inch. This one was leaned in about a 1/2 inch. This one was leaned in about a 1/2 inch. And we adjusted them after the second course. And they barely needed adjustment. So I'm really glad that we leaned them in because they actually moved outward while concrete was being placed. And then the final course, basically what I did was I filled the very top block, and then we used the vibrator to motivate that material down and out of the ledge to fill it up, and it dropped a couple inches in that top block, which is exactly where I wanted it. I wanted it like 1.5 inches, 2 inches down. And then we went around, we hand troweled all the brick ledge, and we stabbed in anchor bolts and stabbed in some rebar so that when we pour the top floors, there's not a cold joint. So we left the top of the top block pretty rough too, kind of to assist in the bond between the two levels. We got the 5 additional footers poured as well while the concrete truck was here. That was while the pump truck was here, so that was nice. So we're gonna let this set for 48 hours and then we're gonna start stripping forms. So on Saturday, we're gonna pull all this wood off of here, and then we're gonna bring in some gravel for the under slab. And I'm trying to line up a flatwork guy to come do that. So that'll be on the next video. So I'm really glad that we went with this system. The pump guy was impressed with this particular brand of block because he's seen some other brands blow out. I think this is a little bit more rugged than maybe some of the other ones on the market. So we started, the pump truck was here just before 8, and he got all set up, good to go. And then the concrete truck showed up right at 8, and we were probably pouring by 8:15, and he was folded up, cleaned out, and we were eating lunch at 12:30. So 4 hours for a bunch of guys that have never done it. I'm very pleased. The walls are pretty straight. There's a little bit of a bow in the long walls outward. I should have waited till we did the top before we adjusted, but it's only a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 on the longest wall, and it's really not going to be an issue. No one's ever going to notice it. So at first, when I was putting the system together, I was kind of disappointed with the way that the top block sat onto the block below it. It's a different size block, but after we've poured it, I'm pretty pleased with it. So we tried wiping off some of the concrete drips and discovered that if you just let it dry, it literally just wipes right off. Something like this right here, like, look at that, it just wipes right off. So we'll come back with a broom and little brushes, and we'll clean this off before we waterproof it. Yeah, look, it just comes right off. So literally, well, it's not a problem. Whereas where it was wet, it was kind of a pain in the butt. See, that was a little wetter. It doesn't want to come off as easy, but the dry stuff just wipes right off. So it's amazing how stiff this is now, how straight it is. All right, let's see, I'll get you some shots of the top. It's pretty messy, but it's inside the wall. So you can see we didn't quite fill the top block. And then when we hit it with the vibrator, it pumped out of here real nice. Got this nice and flat now. So that ledge down there is going to support our sill plate. The tape I use like a 3-inch packing tape. I went around it twice, like once from here over and once from here in. And the concrete was like warming up the glue, and it was becoming really difficult to peel it off. So I might use a different tape in the future. And there's a few spots where the tape would break, so I'm going to be dealing with a little bit of this. Hopefully I can, do something about that and get that concrete out of there. If not, I'll just have to work with the blocks above. Like, see, that kind of popped right out. Thinking maybe once it cures, I get a screwdriver and just pluck the stuff out. That'll work. So So the guy with the pump truck told me that the issues that he sees at the ICF block is in the corners. So we actively tried to stay out away from the corners, let the concrete flow to the corners, tried to put all the mud right directly in the corner, and it seemed to work pretty good. Nothing seemed to be moving more than what was reasonable or expected. So touch up maybe. We poured right up against the house. We used a Sawzall with the blade removed to do a little bit of consolidation down the wall. Worked pretty well. We limited the use of internal vibration. We spent a lot of time vibrating around a couple critical areas. So we did use internal vibration pretty extensively around my beam to make sure I have good bonds on my rebar, down both sides of my windows and doors, down both sides of my doors, and down in my column here, which is supporting my beam pocket. We consolidated that very well. All along this beam we consolidated internal vibration, and again down the sides. I put these boards on here just like Dirt Perfect does, and I should have put them on the outside, I think, but that's all right. You see the walls are pretty straight. There's a little bit of wiggle to them. I think once the siding's on, you're never going to see that, but they're all within 3/16 of an inch, I'd say. It's my front door opening. So we screwed that flat because I'm going to put a sill plate on here for the door. Made sure my rebar was within 2 inches of either side. So I was really nervous at the beginning of today, but as the day went on, it was obvious that we had this under control. And I think that if you're generally a handy person, maybe you do your own work, maybe you build your own sheds and garages and whatnot, that this is definitely doable. When it's all said and done, I would recommend doing this. More money up front. However, I did all the labor myself, so I'm gonna just call a couple local concrete foundation guys and just see what it would cost to do a conventional foundation to this point and see what it would cost me. So we have about $4,000 in the footers. We have about $15,000 in foam, and we have $1,500 in rebar, and we have $6,500 in concrete and $1,000 for the pump. So I don't think we could have got a conventional wall for the same money, or very close. So let's say it would be the same money. I have 5.5 inches of foam already installed. So even if a conventional foundation is the same money or even less, I would still have to buy a couple thousand square feet of foam at, what is it now? It's like $1.50 a square foot. So I'd probably have to invest more money, and I'd probably have a lesser product. So when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, more labor involved, but I'm doing it myself, so I'm not paying other guys or relying on other guys, except for those guys that show up to help. But in the end, I have more for my money. So I will definitely do this again if I build another house. We are going to be going up the next story. The next lift, the next full floor is all 4-inch block. And what I did notice is when I was pouring the 4-inch block, the rebar that's in here was piling up with concrete as we were going. It would get jammed up like this right here, and then it would pile up and splooge out, and it wouldn't be coming down here. So I'm a little bit nervous about that when it comes to the first full floor, because we're going to be having 9 feet of 4-inch block with, you know, another 7 or 8 rebar in there. So we'll see how it goes. Check out the channel, see all the videos we got to get to this point. We'll be providing more videos as we go. Not a whole lot of narration, not really doing this as a tutorial or a how-to, but you can just watch along and see how a couple of people who have never done it before are doing it. Maybe you can do it yourself as well. Save yourself some money, build yourself a house. Especially with the way the economy is going and the market and what labor's costing. This might be your best option. See you in the next video.